So the thing to understand is that we trigger ourselves when we can't get off the subject. So the thing isn't triggering you. The fact that you keep going there is the trigger. So stop going there. Really, it really is that simple. We have to stop going to the subjects that aggravate us. That's what it means to get off the subject. If it aggravates you, going there is not going to fix it. So deactivating it means bringing it back into my control. For some things, we can just get off the subject and never go back to the subject again. With time, momentum will lapse, momentum will dissipate, and that subject will not trigger us anymore. But with some things, because they are still active in our life, we will get triggered if we go there. So let me give you an example from my own life. My ex, who strangled me, left me with PTSD, and for a very long time I couldn't go there without getting all emotional, getting all caught up in my throat, because there was still momentum. There was momentum of the emotions that were created as a result of that event. But when I got off the subject of that and I got busy with other things in my life, I stopped thinking about it. It didn't go away, but I stopped thinking about it. And without doing much work on it, because I wasn't going back there, momentum lapsed, the energy of it dissipated, so that I got to this place where I can go back to it and it does not activate me anymore. It does not trigger me anymore. Because it was a one-time thing that happened and I got out of that situation. I did some work. It's not like I didn't do any work at all. I did do some work to help me handle the emotions of that. But it wasn't recurring in my life. So I was able to let it go and allow the momentum of that experience to come to an end. It was way harder for me to work on the subject of money, because money meant I've always had bills to pay. There was one or another bill to pay every day. So I couldn't do that with money. I couldn't just get off the subject and allow the momentum of that subject to dissipate so that I can move on with my life. And in that situation, you cannot get off the subject for long enough to allow momentum to run out. But what you do is you get off the subject for long enough that you can get emotional control over the situation, so that then you can work on it. So you don't get off the subject forever. You've got to come back to the subject and then work on it. Work on it with the intention of going up the emotional scale. See, what happens is when people get triggered, they come back to the subject and they get unhappy all over again, and they don't have the intention of actually diffusing the situation in order to go up the emotional scale. So they get caught up in this whirlpool of the worse it gets, the worse it gets. But if I go back to the subject with the intention of working on it to improve it, now I'm going to go back to it and I'm going to use the 4-step process to go through each and every emotion on the emotional scale and go as high as I can. It's not necessary that the very first time that I do a 4-step process that it's going to take me all the way up the emotional scale to a place of hopefulness or love or joy or satisfaction. No, it won't. Well, it didn't for me. Maybe it will for you, but it didn't for me. I would just go up 1 or 2 steps and then I would have to let it go. Because if you spend too much time trying to knock it into place, you start going back down the emotional scale. So you go as far as you can, what feels good, and then you get off the subject again. And now when you come back to the subject, you didn't leave it where it was before. You're leaving it at a place that is higher than where you had left it the first time. And because of that, you can now start working on it from a higher place and move it to an even higher place. So let's say when I came out, let's say that when I had a lot of bills to pay, Abraham said, don't worry about it. I said, okay, Abraham, I accept the challenge. I will do whatever it takes to distract myself. But in the end, there is going to be a bill to pay. So I will have to come back to it. I got off the subject. So I was over here, fear. Oh my goodness, huge fear. I improved the fear. Where did I improve it? To blame. To blame. Somebody ought to help me. To guilt and blame. I'm not doing enough. I should be able to handle this a lot better. Blame. There's no one helping me. Don't they know? Doesn't my family know that I need them just now? Okay, and then you just leave it there because that's also a very strong emotion. And when you feel the strength of that emotion, but it feels better than fear. Fear that my situation is hopeless. So get it up to that place of blame. Blame is better than guilt. Guilt is horrible. Get up to blame and then go away. Get off the subject. And then the next day or 2 days later, come back to the subject. And now it's not in a place of out of control fear. You left it at blame. You pick it up from blame. And then you keep going, working on it. And then you go to anger. How did I let it get this bad? Right? Angry with myself. Revenge. I should have gotten more money out of my ex. I didn't get any money out of him. I should go after him now. No, I don't want to go after him. I'm just going to leave it here. This feels good. Good enough for now. Get off the subject. Come back after a day, 2 or 3 from that place. And it will look different. Why? Because momentum automatically comes down a notch when you leave things alone. This is why we say time is the healer. So now pick it up from a place of that revenge. No, I don't feel like revenge anymore. You know what? It's okay. I can do this on my own. And now worry. How am I going to do it myself? What am I supposed to do? And then you sit with that and you work through all the worry that you've got. You bring it to the surface and you make yourself feel better. So you soothe yourself, then you let it go. Go away. Do something else. And then come back. And now you're picking it up from a place of worry. And you look at it and you say, why was I that worried about it? Because in the meantime, because you got off the subject, it looks better because some momentum automatically went away. And what have you done? You've gone all the way from fear up to worry. And then you go to frustration. Frustration feels better than worry. And then you keep going. And if you keep going, you get hopeful. And now you go away, you're hopeful, you come back, and now you do some more work on it, and you move it to excitement. And then you get excited, oh my God, I have this thing to do, and I can't wait to get to it. And you spring out of bed in the morning because you're excited about doing something about your situation. And all of this is post-manifestational work. Why? Because the thing has already happened. Because if I was pre-manifestational, I wouldn't be starting that low on the emotional scale. If I was pre-manifestational, I would be above the worry line. So you see, this is how we diffuse momentum. When we diffuse momentum, we feel better, we gain control. We have better control. And the analogy that I always bring up is the car going out of control. The first thing you have to do is bring the car back into control before you can bring it to a stop. And that's what it means to control momentum. Before you can go up the emotional scale, you've got to reduce momentum. When you reduce momentum, you gain more control over what? Over your emotional state. You gain more control over your emotional state. Why? Because you gain more control over your thinking process. When you have more control over your thoughts, you have more control over your emotions. And now you feel better. And you start feeling your own power. You start feeling the power that you have, the power to go up the emotional scale.